Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're looking in Psalm chapter 18. Psalm chapter 18. This is a song of praise and of deliverance. David wrote it as a psalm, of course, but also as a song to be sung. It was in the hymn book of Israel, the book of Psalms. Now, something I did not say yesterday about Psalm 18, very interesting. You read through the Old Testament book of 2 Samuel, and when you come to 2 Samuel chapter 22, guess what? You read this entire psalm almost verbatim. And so it appears that David wrote this song, and he talks about it in 2 Samuel 22 after his deliverance from Saul, after he had become the great king of all of Israel, both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, and now he's the king, and he writes this song. Later in life, as he prepares it for the book of Psalms, his hymn book that he leaves to the chief musician, he edits it maybe just in a few places, hardly you can probably can't find it, but and then it's put in there. So this psalm is repeated twice. Now, when something's repeated twice in the Bible by God, by the Holy Spirit, it has tremendous, I believe, importance. Now, it's all important. Every word is important. But there's something about God's just saying, I want you to know I'm a God who delivers. I'm a God who cares. I'm a God who can hear your cry. I'm a God who is listening. I'm a God who is alive. And David, in these verses we're going to read today, shows how God, when he called on his name, he came down like a storm upon his enemies and delivered David and pulled him out of the waters. He was drowning. He was almost gone. And last minute, God pulls him out of the water. Well, sometimes we all feel like that. So this is a psalm that you ought to take to heart and from time to time read. And goodness, I'd encourage reading through the whole book of Psalms every month. There's 150 Psalms. 5 Psalms a day will take you through the whole book every month, and just keep reminding you over and over again, despite what's going on around you, despite what's going on in the world, God is sitting on his throne. Now, the first thing David does, he expresses his devotion. We said this yesterday. And his devotion of love. I will love you, O Lord, my strength. Then he expresses his faith in verse 2. The Lord is my rock and my fortress, my deliverer, my strength, my God. In him I trust, my shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. His trust was in the Lord. His faith was in Jehovah, Yahweh God. And then in verse 3, he expresses his hope. I will call upon the Lord who's worthy to be praised. And here's his hope. So shall I be saved from my enemies. Now, David has great hope because he knows as he calls upon God, God will hear his cry. Now, also, this psalm is, we're reminded in this psalm when David writes these verses that God is always a God who is going to be there to meet every need in our life. Now let's go to verse 4, because now David expresses his distress and his deliverance from the enemy. The pangs of death surrounded me. The floods of ungodliness made me afraid. The sorrows of Sheol surrounded me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried out to my God. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry came before him, even to his ears. So David expresses his devotion, then he expresses his distress, and then beginning in verse 8, then the earth shook and trembled, the foundations of the hills also quaked and were shaken because he was angry. I love it. Smoke went out of his nostrils, devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also. He came down with darkness under his feet, and he rode upon a cherub and flew. He flew upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. His canopy around him was dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. From the brightness before him, his thick clouds passed through with hailstones and coals of fire. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. Hailstones and coals of fire. He sent out his heralds and scattered the foe, lightnings in abundance, and he vanquished them. Oh, my friend, you see God's great deliverance. So David spoke of his distress, as he said in verse 6, in my distress I called upon the Lord. But now he describes the greatness of God's deliverance. And my God will deliver you and me too. Well, God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.